Welcome to Undercurrents of Romance, the show that celebrates every subgenre of romantic fiction. In each episode, I peel back the layers of your favorite love stories and chat with the talented authors who bring them to life. I'm your host, Tracey Devlyn. Now, let's dive in with today's guest. Hello, Romantics. I'm here with New York Times bestselling authors Krista and Becca Ritchie to talk about their newest contemporary romance, Destructively Mine. Welcome to the show, Becca and Krista.
Hi, thank you so much for having us. We're so excited.
Yes, we
I'm very excited to be here with you both to talk about this very juicy, lovely book you have here. This title, Destructively Mine, if that doesn't generate automatic one-click buys, I'm not sure what will. Did you guys have a hand in this title? Is this something that you collaborated with your publisher on? How did that work out?
Yeah, we picked it out. When we were thinking about sequel titles to go off of Dishonestly Yours, we were like, do we keep the yours? Do we keep the D letter? And Becca had a brilliant idea to do yours, mine, ours, and to keep the first letter D. So that's kind of what we've been playing with. And she came up with Destructively Mine, and I was floored. I was like, yes, that's it. No other, we don't need any other options.
Don't you just love that when it clicks immediately? You don't have to think about it. It's just you just know.
Oh, definitely. That's always so great, especially with titles, because we've had titles that have been such a struggle to come up with. So to
Hmm.
have one that was so easy, we were like, yes, thank you. The heavens
yeah,
smiled
just
upon us.
just run with it. Don't overthink it. Let's go.
Yeah, just go with it. That's great. Well, in my research of the two of you, I found out that you've both been writing for about 10 years and you've written 25 books-ish, maybe a little over 25 now.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think we're in the 30s now, but I feel like
oh, 30s.
once you get like past a certain point, I feel like you just stop losing like count.
Okay.
Like
That sounds about right, I suppose. You betcha. What else can you tell us about your writing journey? I don't know. Krista, do you want to get us started out with that?
Yeah, so Becca wrote before me. We actually started writing just for fun in middle school, just for funsies, going and doing stories. And Becca was the writer at first, and I would read her stories over her shoulder, like as she was typing, and I got so frustrated because they were so good, but she was so slow. And I was like, I can't stand this anymore. So I started writing too. And we kind of just kept writing as we've grown up and developing stories, giving them to each other, even as like birthday presents. We'd be like, write me a
Oh,
story for my birthday.
that's so
And
sweet. I
yeah,
love
and
that.
Becca was the one who really took it more seriously than me. She wanted to be a published author and go that path. And it wasn't really until college where we were like, you know what, maybe we should do this together. Like it is more fun doing things together. Let's try this together. So that's kind of how we started collaborating on our stories.
All
Yeah,
right.
we enjoyed writing together like 10 times more because there's nothing better than the feeling of each other being so invested in the same story.
Mm,
Like before it was
hmm
like, well, I want you to love my story more than you love your story that you're working on. And now it was like equal passionate love for the same story.
Now, what year was it that you published your first book then? Were you still in college? Was it after college or
So I had just graduated college. It was in 2013, and Becca was still in college. She was finishing out a summer semester, and
Yeah.
I
I had
specific
it. Well,
you go.
I was just gonna say I had an econ. Econ, I took
yeah,
it 4 times. It
yeah,
followed me into the very end.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
There's
which we
only
wrote.
a small stratosphere of people who actually like econ.
It's so hard. And we wrote it into the book, just into our first published novel. She was struggling with econ. She had to get an econ tutor. we had to translate
Yeah.
that in there.
It was that
Yeah.
painful. But
Yeah.
I remember we published Addicted to You, which is our first published novel together. And that was in 2013. And I remember working on Ricochet, which was the sequel. And I was like sleeping on an air mattress in Becca's like apartment, like dorm room, because I got kicked out because I had graduated while we were trying to like finish the second book. So it was really special time because we were writing this college age series about these early 20 somethings while we were also the same age,
Hmm.
and so it definitely like reflects that time of our life.
No, it's great, and you had quite a bit of success from your first series. If I read the marketing material correctly, that's wonderful. That doesn't always happen, but 2013, you were right there at that time of that new age, that new adult uh, kind of trend, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, we definitely hit timing perfectly. And then when Book Talk came about around, I
Mm,
guess 2020, the Addicted series like reemerged, and it was 10 years later. It just I had another wave of readers discover it. So we like to think of it as being a little bit timeless for college aged
yeah,
readers.
yeah, absolutely. That's a good way of putting it. So Destructively Mine is book two in your, I'm gonna see if I can say this without getting tangled up in my on my tongue here, but your Webs We Weave series, correct?
Yes.
Becca, how about you give us a quick overview of the story and maybe what sparked the idea to have a recovering grifter as your protagonist?
Yeah, the series really came about when we were younger. It was one of those concepts that we had when we were children about two families of grifters, and we wrote a story about it. And um, when we were thinking about what to write next, we were like, "Oh, let's take this concept out of the time vault and redo it." And it really, at its core, is about a friendship between Phoebe and Haley, a female friendship. And when Haley asks Phoebe to quit grifting with her and move to this little coastal town in Connecticut, kind of like Gilmore Girls esque, Phoebe is like, all we've ever known is conning dirtbags out of money. We were born to do this. We were raised up to do this. Like our parents have taught us nothing else. But
Mhm.
girl, you're going to tell me to do it. I'm going to go do it because I'm a ride or die friend, and anything Haley wants, I'm going to go do. But this is nuts. But we're going to go be servers and pretend to be servers in this like coastal town. Um or not pretend to be servers, sorry. We are actually going to be servers instead of pretend to be wealthy. They've always pretended to be wealthy. So when they go and potentially start a fresh life, Haley's older brother uh decides to tag along, and he's also part of the grifter family, and he's like, you guys are nuts, this isn't gonna work out. We've only been deceiving people our entire lives, we've never been honest, so how are you gonna do this? And here's Phoebe just trying to start a fresh life, but she has so much baggage with this guy, her best friend's older brother. They've pretended to be everything under the sun, siblings, um, exes, lovers, all of these different things to con people out of money. And now she's going to try to go live an honest life. And here he is, like, following them to protect them. So it's very messy and complicated. And um, when we wrote it, we kind of wrote it as if it was like our TV show that was on the lineup next to like The Vampire Diaries or Everwood back in the day. We love TV. We're big TV junkies. So yeah, we kind of envisioned it like a CW or WB TV show.
That's super interesting because my very next question for you was going to just mention that I found this to have a very cinematic feel to it. And I was going to ask if anybody from Hollywood or, the streaming services, if anybody's come knocking on your door yet, because I could totally see this as a series.
I feel like we can't say yes
Okay.
or no, but I do think that It is. I feel like it's most authors' dream to have their work adapted in some way. Like
Yeah.
readers ask all the time, and I'm like, isn't that just a given? Like we all want it. But for us, like as TV junkies, it definitely would be an absolute dream.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we will keep an eye on your social
Mhm.
media for maybe future announcements on this maybe thing that you got going on here. That's great. So, what was really I found very interesting, Becca, as you were talking about how they want to get out of the con business and that sort of thing. And Phoebe loves her new job as being a server. I mean, she gets just enjoyment out of, help, yeah, I guess it's like, serving people and just, not having things be so complicated, maybe. I thought that that was such a nice touch. It wasn't like she was miserable. It wasn't like, oh, I made a horrible mistake. It wasn't any of that. She was like, okay, I like this. I want to keep doing this.
Yeah, she likes the honesty of being able to be herself in this
Yeah.
new town. Like she's always put on roles and been other people and basically been an actress. And it's in this town, she is her own personality. It's the truth of who she is. And while she's serving, she can also like hear all the gossip of all of these ladies in the country club, and she enjoys it. It's complicated in the sense that there's things going on around her, but she's not necessarily, it's not as dark as sometimes her role is in the family as a grifter. She's known as the seductress. So a lot of
Mm.
times she has to seduce men and sort of disassociate with her body. And in this town, there, she's sort of like healing from all of that.
Yeah, yeah, no, it was great. It was a really nice touch. So, one of the things I like to dive into on this show is finding the story's undercurrent with the author, or in your case, authors. It's that second beating heart of the story that flows beneath the lover's journey, that also helps propel the story forward. Okay, Krista and Becca, feel free to chime in. What undercurrent is flowing beneath Phoebe and Rocky's story?
Yeah, I think that a lot of it does come down to identity, like who they are. And a lot of the book is about if you don't know who you are, what do you latch on to? And that is where the basis of their connection and their love story is, because they were raised as grifters and
Mm,
they find out some very shocking things about their past and their upbringings
mm,
and what is true and what isn't true. And in their own truth, they hang on to the love that they do know is real. And I think that is a thread throughout the whole series, is them getting closer through their connections that they developed beyond their parents' influence.
mhm. Yeah, yeah. Did you have anything to add to that, Becca? Or
Yeah,
because
that's
sometimes
like
there's more than one undercurrent too, and that's there.
yeah, I think that that's like the perfect description of like the whole series too, especially with not just Phoebe and Rocky, but their relationships with their siblings, because
Mm,
they each have two siblings, and they all sort of hang on to the idea that they know that their relationships with each other are real, and that is what they're like hanging on to as their whole worlds are being dismantled around them.
hmm hmm Yeah, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but the scene where Haley is, struggling, she's trying to find out some information, and the scene where Phoebe and Rocky are there trying to help her through this struggle. You could really feel the bond between all of them. It wasn't like sometimes you think of this kind of tension between siblings where like, oh, just knock it off or something like that. There was just some really care there that was taken to try and help Haley through that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Like, I think that's one of the things we love writing most is ensemble cast and also platonic love, sibling love, family love. we view it as just as important as the romantic love in our stories. So we try to build those kind of relationships just as equally.
Yeah, yeah, no. Well, you did a great job for sure.
Oh, thank
Oh,
you.
thank
So,
you.
just a little fun thing here. Readers love, romance readers love their tropes in a story, of course. What two or three tropes can readers look forward to while reading Destructively Mine? And feel free to make this a team effort. So,
Yeah,
I
I
think,
think morally gray characters, would you say that's like the a big
yeah.
one?
you know,
I, th- I think fake dating, but like with a twist, because she's fake dating the town royalty, but that's not her romance. That's not who she's with. So
right,
it
right.
and there's an auction and it's just like so messy because her the person she's fake dating needs to bet on her, but that's not her boyfriend. So it's complicated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Boy obsessed. I feel Rocky is down bad for Phoebe in this book. So that's a big one. And he's also her best friend's older brother. So
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought what was interesting about Rocky being, obsessed with Phoebe is that he's not shy about, I don't know what the first book was like, if, if they were kind of dancing around those feelings a little bit more, but in this book, he's not shy about telling her exactly, what he
Yeah.
loves about her.
She's like holding back because they have fiery banter, and then he's just like, "Yeah, I've loved you for this long, like, duh." She's like, "Wait, what? We're just gonna say
She's
it?"
still trying to figure like, is this like a thing? Are we a thing? Are we really dating here? Yeah, that was great. So, would each of you tell us about a romance book that you've read recently that you would recommend and maybe why?
Oh, I love Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. Because the main character deals with anxiety and it's so
Mm.
accurate. And I listened to the audiobook as well, and it was so relatable. And I just love it so much. For the romance too is absolutely amazing, but I just feel like the anxiety representation was just so spot on to the point where I was like, am I getting anxiety listening to him getting anxiety?
Uh,
for me, probably Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. I am not like a small town cowboy romance reader, so that was like my first foray into it, and I loved it. I was like, take me to the ranch, you know. It was
I'm
so cute.
I'm so happy that Chris is now into like cowboy romances because I love Devney Perry. I've read so many of her books, and I need Krista to hop on the train.
Yeah.
All right. She's a convert now. That's great.
I'm also reading I'm in the middle of The Love Simulation by Etta Easton, which is like the cutest premise you can possibly think of. It's two a vice principal and a teacher go into a Mars simulation together. Like
I love
adorable.
that. That sounds so good.
It does. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. Well, I always like to add those in the show notes so that we can expose our readers to even more romance authors. So let's go behind the scenes a bit. I'd like to talk about your process. Now, I know you probably have answered this question 100 bazillion times, but for our audience, can you tell us what system that you guys have down now for your writing? Do you each take a character? Do one of you write the draft and the other, does the edits? Or do you just write in real time and kind of riff off of each other, or something completely different?
Do you want to
Do,
take that, Becca?
Okay, so usually one of us we don't switch chapters like or take a character. We both write everything together. And one of us, usually Krista, will start first and she'll be like a couple chapters ahead of me, and then I'll come back and add things. She's really good at like dialogue and things that I don't enjoy as much. And I'll come in with more detail, and sometimes I'll even add a character in the scene or I'll add a twist. Um, and Krista will just remember what happens and keep writing forward as if uh she wrote what I added. Sometimes too, Krista will add a character and it's like a side character. It happened with the Addicted series. Connor Cobalt was just supposed to be Lily's econ tutor. And I was like, no, he's so good. Like he's gonna be a main character. You need to keep writing with him. And he ended up becoming so popular that he has his own book, which is Kiss the Sky. And
Uh,
the rest is history with that. But yeah, so we both tend to write everything together and we'll come back to the beginning and Krista will go over my stuff. So it'll happen multiple times to the point where we don't know who wrote what sometimes.
yeah,
Our lines
yeah,
are just so integrated.
yeah.
Yeah.
It
Our
becomes
strength
one voice. Yeah.
Yes.
our strengths and weaknesses really like pair well together. I always say that like I have the most fun just writing two characters in an empty room. And like I don't know where they are. I don't know what they're doing, but they're just like talking in an empty room. And then Becca will usually like set the scene and really like fix it so they're not just like, in an asylum somewhere.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I love that. I wish I had a Becca to write with because I struggle with the same things that you do, Krista. I get into the dialogue and it's like, oh, I got to stop and describe that. Now, what would be the right word to describe that with, and I just get caught up in my head about it so badly. So, yeah, no, that's great. That's wonderful. Thank you for that. And then the last one I have here is maybe Krista, you could get us started with this. Is what is your favorite thing to do when you finish a book? How do you celebrate or treat yourself?
Usually, so for the longest time, me and Becca lived together. We've only finished a couple books not living together, but when we lived together, our go-to thing was we would turn on Center Stage and we would just watch Center. We've seen it now so many times, but it never
Yeah.
gets old. Watch Center Stage together, just like decompress. And it would be the best celebration, just watching our favorite movie. Now I feel like I don't know what I do. I don't know if I do anything fun anymore. Um, I think that I need to bring back the Center Stage routine though. I think it needs to
Yeah,
come back in.
yeah,
Yeah.
there you
Yeah,
go.
we used to and order take our favorite takeout.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do we get to know what that is, or is that a mum's the word too?
It was usually wasn't it Chinese?
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was usually Chinese. Where Krista lives, they have there's a really good Chinese restaurant. I miss that. There's not any of that where I live now.
All right, great. Well, before we go, can you give us a hint of what's coming up next? Now, you said something about yours, mine, ours. So this feels like a trilogy to me. So, are you currently working on maybe the third book, or are you working on another exciting project?
Yes, we're finishing up the third book. It's called Dangerously Ours. So it really caps off the whole trilogy nicely. Becca came up with that title too. She's brilliant title
Are
master.
you sure? I think that was a joint effort.
I'm giving you credit.
Yeah, take the win.
Yeah, so that book is the final in the Webs We Weave series. So we actually constructed the whole series as though it was a trilogy, like the story arcs and stuff.
Oh, that's great. Had it all planned out ahead of time. That can make it a little easier going from book to book. Well, folks, when this episode airs, Destructively Mine will be out, so be sure to order your copy today. You can check out Krista and Becca's website at kbritchie.com. Uh, Becca, what social media outlets are you most active on?
Instagram, where
Instagram?
that's our main social media for sure.
Okay, all righty. And what is your handle on there?
It is KBM Ritchie, Ritchie. There's an M in there. The KB Ritchie was taken, so we slipped an M as in Michelle and Marie because that's our middle names.
Okay. That's interesting. Somebody already had that handle. That seems like an unusual handle for somebody to have taken. Dang. But the M is a cool talking point too, so that's great. All right. Well, Krista and Becca, thank you so much for joining me. It was such a pleasure to have you on here, and appreciate you writing such a wonderful book. Like I said, I'm very intrigued, and I want to go back and read book one for sure to get that first bit of the story. So thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah, thank
you.
you.
You betcha. Many thanks to everyone listening. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Undercurrents of Romance. You can find more information about the show at tracydevlyn.com/podcast. Undercurrents of Romance is a proud member of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. I'll be back soon with another great romantic read. In the meantime, enjoy the adventure, everyone.